Jameer,
Hello, hello.
Merry Christmas Eve to you.
And happy holidays.
So good to see you.
It's a pleasure.
Welcome to my home, Mikasa Sukasa.
Let me say this really quick. If you ever thought about marrying this woman, she has every piece that you need to be a successful wife in this entire house, y'all. Just FYI.
Thank you, Jameer. I wholeheartedly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I was raised to be a proper girl.
I can tell.
I was raised to be a proper girl.
They did good.
Thank
they did
you.
well, darling.
Yes, I'm here to support and undergird the man.
I can't. See, this is what I'm saying, y'all. She's amazing.
I'm here to support and undergird the man.
This is crazy.
So you and I are colleagues in this very fascinating, turbulent space of entertainment journalism,
Craziness of all
entertainment
the
news
things.
here in Hollywood. We're going into award season. I want to ask you, Jameer, why journalism? Like, when did you fall in love with journalism? Is it something that you chose, or did it choose you?
So interesting. I had this conversation a few years ago with my best friend, and I am old school. Interesting. We were talking about age, so there's no ageism going on here. But I remember Right On and Word Up coming out, and Queen Latifah being a journalist and living single.
Yep.
And I was extremely infatuated with that, so I created my own like narrative book. And all of my friends in school would always pick on me because I was cutting out pictures from Vibe and Word Up and all of these magazines and just kind of curating my own story.
I love it.
And then the older that I had gotten, I realized that the spaces that I wanted to be in was in entertainment. So going to red carpets and screenings, sneaking in, invited or not, you know, and I think that is the goal, right? Is just to make sure that you are in the spaces so you can at least be able to meet the people. So just get yourself in the room.
I
So
love
that was
that.
my idea.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
For me, not that you asked, but
No, I was gonna say in retrospect for you though, how did you even get it? Because guys, FYI, I don't know if you've seen this work, but the work is working. It is working. You have your foot on the industry's neck, and
Thank you.
It's interesting to see it continue to parlay to the next level. But
Thank
for you,
you.
how did you get into it, and what is the passion around it?
You know, I was my family's news reporter.
Okay.
Yeah. I was telling everybody's business in a yes. Yeah.
Keep your mouth closed.
Yeah, I would whisper in, you know, say my mother's ear or my father's ear about what was happening when I went to Auntie's house.
Yeah.
You know, but my mother says that I began reading at a very early age.
Okay.
According to her, I started reading at the ages of around 2 and 3.
Oh wow.
Like full sentences, you know, could write, could report, could identify words. In the Philadelphia Inquirer, where I'm from, Chester, PA, right outside of Philadelphia.
Shout
so we
out
got
to
the
PA.
big, thick Philadelphia Inquirer, and I was already able to identify like keywords and context.
Yeah.
You know, so journalism was in me. You know, I remember winning like my first essay contest in the 3rd grade via my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Crawford. Yep.
Shout out to Miss Crawford.
Yeah, and so I just had my whole life has been about telling story.
Okay.
You know, got to high school, was the editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper, The Record, at Chester High School in Chester, PA. Did a KYW News Studies program, which is Channel 3 in Philadelphia when I was still in the 11th and 12th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, every Saturday I caught the train, you know, like a young
So
woman.
you were dedicated. There we go.
Yeah, I caught the train from Chester, PA to Center City to this KYW News Studies program where they hand selected just a few hundred students throughout the whole Delaware Valley.
Wow.
And I got a chance to report and curate story like live for air through this KYW News Studies program. Yeah. So I was in high school. That was like my high school trajectory. And then I went off to college. I went to Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania. Then I transferred to Cheyney University of Pennsylvania, the oldest HBCU founded in 1837.
Shout out to our HBCUs, guys.
Please.
A&T, Aggie Pride over here.
Woo!
Just
Let's
saying.
do that. Let's do that. And so once I got to Cheyney, I became a communication arts major, and we had a rotation where students got to participate in areas of study around RTF, radio, television, and film and theater. You know, television and theater. You know, and so there was this one professor and dean who really had her eye on me. Her name was Dr. Leatrice Bennett, may she rest in peace. And she guided my career and got me an internship at WCAU NBC 10 in Philadelphia. So we're talking like the mid to late 90s. I was in the newsroom when the O.J. Simpson story broke, right? I'm 20-something years old. Yeah, 20-something years old. In the newsroom when the O.J. Simpson story broke. I was in the newsroom when Tupac, to me, I'm going to say assassinated, because my 20-something-year-old self believes he was assassinated.
Shout out to all of the Tupac lovers. We're on the West Coast, so you already know.
Yep. So I was obsessed with that story, and I remember trying to like pitch it to my boss, who was a producer, to pitch it to the big bosses, so that that story would be in a very specific block of the news story, but it wasn't. And I just remember, man, listen, let me tell you something. If we had Instagram, social media,
oh my God,
when I was a young girl in the newsrooms, it would have been over, because I was a crybaby back then, and I still got a tinge of it here as a 51-year-old. But I would have been on that thing like, guys, I pitched my story about Tupac, and they won't run it, man. I would have been on that gram. But yeah, so. You know, what was fascinating about that particular part of my life is Philadelphia was the 4th largest market in television news, and still is.
Wow.
So I was able to get all of that real-time newsroom experience in such a big market. Like it was serious.
You know, earlier you and I were talking about just the things that we have learned throughout family, and with this conversation, it made me think about your father, right? And the nuggets that you've been able to take away from your father. How has his trajectory of his life aligned with yours, and the things that you've been able to learn from him?
Finish it.
Okay.
Finish what you've started. You started a thing, finish it. I don't care how difficult it gets in the middle.
Okay.
I don't care how long it takes you, and that's where I am now, because, you know, I get exhausted of the politics in Hollywood. I get exhausted of the gatekeeping that we experience here in Hollywood. But I know that I've begun this journey, and I have to finish it.
You do, absolutely.
You know, and so my father was really big on finishing what you started with a level of enthusiasm. You know, stay in the middle with the same level of enthusiasm that you had at the very beginning.
Yep. I always say, do it with grace.
Yeah.
Do it with grace.
You know, so that's one of the things. And just in everything, be poised, be excellent, be gracious.
Yeah.
Even in anger.
Yeah.
Be graceful in anger.
You have to be.
You know?
Yeah.
When you retaliate, make sure it's swift and strategic.
Everything is planned to a T, people. I'm just saying. That's just life. Life has been life, and for all of us. For 2025, I know that, you know, you have some things that you have under the horizon, and you've had a great career.
Oh,
right?
Thank you.
Where do you see 2025 kind of landing for you as we're entering into a new world of administration, of entertainment, of conversation, of Blackness? You know, I think for me, November 5th was a lot, and I think being able to look at November 5th as the beginning of 2025 for a lot of us, you know, where do you see yourself for next year?
My focus for 2025 is just all things living well.
Yeah.
Right? Living well brand, having a podcast that is going to focus more on, you know, health and wellness. And I mean health and wellness at home, health and wellness in our careers, health and wellness in our relationships, you know, be it personal, romantic, but health and wellness is what my focus is. I just want to live well.
Yeah.
You know, and if that means I can't cover a particular carpet because I don't have a sponsor and I get to stay home and relax and be here.
In this beautiful home.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you. Then that's me living well.
Yeah.
You know, the focus is not so much on me looking great on the grid, but making sure that I look great at home for me, and that my bank account is healthy. Right? You know, that is what 2025, right? Yeah. That is what 2025 looks like for me. And of course, you know, amplifying my brand, you know, I do finally want to do a podcast. My mentors, heroes, sheroes, investors have been on me for the past 5 years about where is your podcast, but you know, I've gone through some things. You know, I had a really bad injury in 2022 with my foot. I have 5 screws and a plate in my right foot.
Wow.
My dad passing in 2021, you know, the 4-year anniversary of his death is, you know, upon us. His transition, I'll say. So for me, I'm just like, okay, it's time to really come out, you know, hard hitting again.
It's time.
So that's where I am for 2025. I'm super excited. I refuse to let this new administration diminish my spirit, my drive, and my ambition and my ability to execute.
Absolutely.
You know, beautiful stories in real time or delayed time, evergreen.
Yeah.
But the goal is to remain as beautiful, right? You know, to be a work of art. You know, I don't think a lot of us look at ourselves as a work of art. I look at myself as a work of art. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know that I dial into that. Yeah, I mean, God took his time to create every last one of us. And so I treat myself as if he did that thing, because he did that thing when he did Tanisha Laverne Grant.
Come on, he did the things, all of the things.
He did that thing. You know, and that's how I want people to see themselves. Like, when God created you, he did that thing with you.
Exactly. I created the Jameer Smith Show podcast in 2020 in Washington, D.C.
Love it.
And I remember us having a conversation just about just journalism and media and representation and all of the things. There's a question that I ask and have asked in the past. At every interview that I've had, every person gets the exact same last question. And with all of the interviews that you have been a part of, with all of the lessons you've learned from high school to college, all of the nuggets your father has been able to ingrain into you and your family, the wisdom your mother has been able to give you, the spaces that you've been able to create for yourself and open up for others, what do you want your legacy to be?
That I lived my truth. That I lived my truth. That I did not bow down, you know, or break to the systems and processes that are really suffocating to a lot of us as creatives. I lived my truth. You know, if I want to be in a suit and do my interviews on a red carpet, if I want to be in an evening gown and do my interviews in a press junket, podcast, red carpet, if I want to be at home in a string bikini showing my body and my skin, you know, in this business that we're in and just in the culture overall, women can only be one of 2 ways.
Wow. Yep.
You know, or 2 ways, and one has to eschew the other. Like, you can't be beautiful. Like, we talk about, you know, women being both brainy and beautiful, but we really don't accept that.
Yeah. There's a lot of conversation around that. So.
Yeah. You know, but I delight in all of it. Yes. You know, I'm super smart. Yep. I'm super cerebral. I'm all those things, right? But I'm also sensual.
Yep. And you should be able to embrace all.
Right. And one shouldn't have to cancel out the other.
Nope.
Because I look a certain way in a swimsuit doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden dumb as a box of rocks, that I'm now this bimbo-esque, you know, trope. It's just so ridiculous.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And I'm proud of you too, brother. Like, just giving me the whole look. Like, as we talk about, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, men being poised and elegant, the black dandy. Like, you give that, you bring that.
It's about representing the 60s and 70s of the black men that just stepped outside every single day and understood what representation felt like for them, for their families, with no judgment. And I think that is what we look at fashion. I was reading something on a couple of news articles, and I'll let you ask your thing. But I remember I was looking at some things earlier, and people were talking about it is okay now for men to wear purses, and it's okay now for men to wear pearls, and it's okay now for men to actually have certain pieces of makeup on their faces, because in 2024-5, it is more accepting, right? We're starting to see the A$AP Rockies and the Offsets and the Lewis Hamiltons wear these things, but we've been wearing them for years.
I was gonna say, because I don't know.
For years.
Have y'all seen the Ozzy Brothers in the 70s?
I'm just saying. Has Rick James ever not come through your playlist? James Brown, Michael D. Jackson.
Like, come
There's
on.
a small man named Prince. I'm just saying. I just want to put it out there.
I can't. You know, it is just so important for us to be able to express ourselves in a holistic way, in whatever chapter we're in and what that chapter calls for.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You know, we're not stuck into being one way. You can't. It's just impossible.
No.
Because like every experience that you have will bring you into a new skin.
We're built with too many layers.
Yeah. You know, so I'm here for it. I am here for it. So when you think about some of those men in fashion icons, because as I'm sitting here with you, I am automatically thinking of Teddy Pendergrass.
Come on, Teddy.
And that big fur fox.
Yeah, come on.
Like, oh my goodness.
Yes, shout out to Teddy P. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when you think about those men that you may have patterned your style after, like who are some of those men?
You know who I got to see the other night at the Grammy Museum was Andre 3000. And I think we sometimes don't give enough credit to Andre 3000 for the statements he made, me coming from Atlanta and seeing the footprint he has had in Atlanta, Georgia. I think also, I remember earlier this year, you know, a lot of people had gone to the Usher concerts. Usher, and shout out to his stylist, Jeremy, but Usher has been an icon for so many years that I have really mirrored a lot of my style after as well. But also some of the men that we talked about earlier, right? Like, I love Prince and how he made feminine and masculine a thing. I love how Michael always had an exaggerated shoulder, and I love a good blazer with a tank on and some distressed jeans. Or, you know, somebody that I think, again, does not get the credit-ish within the black community is Lenny Kravitz. And I think Lenny Kravitz is another one that I think has consistently been great. Has been great, you know? And I think as people of color, we have to be okay with pushing that narrative of fashion. And also being okay with not looking the way that everyone else looks. You can. That's okay.
It's tough. I mean, listen, I'm a bald black woman on these carpets. With the biggest hoop earrings I could find. Right? You know, and that is my authentic self.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't always register mainstream.
Of course not. And I think that's when we look at how the industries have shifted, right? We look at how we have to shift with the industry. But also, if you're not your authentic self, then who are you?
Yep.
You know, I think that's what most recently I was looking at some not old school, but now you can say old school Wendy Williams clips. And as messy as Wendy was, I think that we still missed that authentic conversation that she would have about real life and media and the mess that was involved with it. Because again, she was her authentic self from radio to media. And she never wavered for anyone. And I think that's how I've always been. If I'm just going to the Ralphs or to Air One, you know, I want to make sure that I'm looking fly.
Yeah.
And you never know who you may meet. First impressions are the only ones that matter.
That's it. I went to run a quick errand to get a little bit more, you know, snacks for you guys and you're coming over.
She did the thing.
And you know, it's like, it's my statement hat. Absolutely. Like a fedora. A lady wears a hat.
Mine is glasses always. Give me some glasses, night or day, doesn't matter.
I love it. You know, so when we talk about like what 2025 is going to be for you, like what are you forecasting for yourself?
I went to this place in Inglewood called Black Being. And it is a meditation yoga studio for people of color. And a lot of black women were there this past weekend speaking about the winter solstice. And how that has done a reset in the culture and time. And this past Saturday was the shortest Saturday. And a lot of people are just doing resets. It just feels like a reset. For me, 2025 feels like a fresh reset. It feels like a fresh reset in job, in money, in relationships. And I think for me, it is one of those things that I want to make sure that for the rest of my life, my relationships are extremely intentional. And intentionality means a lot to me when it comes to the people that I'm interested in wanting to spend the rest of my life with, the friendships that I'm evolving with. Because I think we have to have these honest conversations with ourselves and say, you know, even though I've been friends, we're all of the age that we've had friends 15, 20 years, but sometimes you outgrow those friendships and that is okay. And being okay, saying that it is okay. But then the other piece is I want 2025 to be a place of quiet for me because I've lived so much on red carpets, on screenings, on YouTube, on podcasts with the people. I don't know, and I mentioned Black Being because a conversation that they asked after one of the meditation sessions that we had was, how is your breath? Did you get to hear it? And my response was, I did not, because I heard all the clutter that was going on in my mind with job and transition and a new year and administration and health and all of the things. And so I want 2025 to be, I want to hear my breath. I want to be able to just be. We didn't know we was coming for this session today. This is the old school Oprah Winfrey session now, y'all.
I'm like, wait a second. Oh my God.
You have to.
Yeah.
But also, I think something that I pride myself on for many years, and especially now, is I am a huge planner. I'm a Pisces, but I'm a Pisces through and through. Meaning that we are planners, we're lovers, our hearts are on our sleeves, and we give our last.
Yeah.
But also, you have to understand when you're last, if that's mine, that's mine. And I can no longer give it to you anymore. So I believe in showing up for people. I have an amazing girlfriend, Michelle. And Michelle said something the other day that I thought was amazing, because she called me in the timing that I needed. And it's interesting whenever people can feel the vibrations through the world and say, oh my God, I got to reach out to that person because I feel something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And those are the people that you keep close, because I think for me specifically, I always reach out to people. I am the reacher out.
Yeah,
I don't know if y'all are the reacher out, but I'm the one, hey, how you doing? Or have a great day, or how's the week? But whenever it needs to feel reciprocated, it is not. Because again, I'm also the strong friend. I am the one that everyone calls on because I know Jameer good. He got it.
Same. I get it. You know, I'm the big sister. I'm the firstborn. And
I know I gave a lot, right? That was a lot to tell.
I get it, because I see you and I hear you when you talk about being the one to manage and maintain the relationships. I just put up a video last week saying what we're leaving in 2024 are those lopsided relationships.
Ooh.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. We are leaving we are leaving behind that friend that is the forever contrarian.
Ooh,
that disagrees with every single thing you were saying, because that person is really a hater.
They're not rooting for you.
Yeah.
And I think also there was a thing that I told my parents the other day, and I'll end with this for me for 2025 is, this is being really dramatic, but it's the truth. I want to lead and live my life with more silence. So that means moving a Beyonce way.
Yeah.
Beyonce, you will never know anything that lady has going on until she's ready to release it to the world. And when I say release it to the world, she's not giving you a snippet here and there. It's already done.
Yep.
She's moved on to the next 10 or 12 projects.
Yep.
You know, this performance that she'll do during Christmas or the next album, those things are already done. It is completed.
Yeah.
So for her, it's one of those things, like, she keeps her camp very tight and quiet, but then also it's the people that she's around. And for somebody that's been in the business that long and no one has been able to leak anything, I think the only thing I've ever seen is a random photo of like the Levi's denim ad that just happened that somebody took a picture of, and it still really wasn't anything real, you know? So I think that's how I want to just move in those spaces, right? Because we talked earlier about supporting each other and people of color sometimes not really supporting each other. And I think for me, it is about, I want to continue to create community, create spaces for people to be able to tell their stories. That's why the show was created. We may have 2,000 listeners or 20,000 listeners.
Yeah,
if we have one, I'm okay.
That's how I feel about my work.
Yeah, I'm okay.
That's how I feel about my work, because who is for will be in receipt of it. They will receive it. They will receive it. I mean, this has just been so good. You know, one of my goals for 2025 too, and we talked about this, is just a financial component.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I know a lot of our colleagues, we want to look really great on the grid, and we go to all these different events because the pubs are reaching out to us, but you got to make sure that is working for you in a financial, in a healthy financial way, because you're putting together these looks. You know, you're spending money on transportation, be it New York or LA. You know, you're lifting, you're Ubering, and we want to show up in the black car. You know, all that. you have to really ask yourself, is it financially responsible for me to attend, 15 activations this month just for the sake of looking good on social media?
It's not always about just collecting so much content.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that. I remember last year going to like 17 different Grammy events, and it was like, why am I here? Why am I at every single Grammy event just to say that I've collected all this content to sit in my phone and to make a reel and to put it on Instagram and all the things. And then would I have to move on to the next thing? So, and ending with this, I will say, what we talked about earlier is Issa Rae. And many things, but one of the things that she said that has always resonated with me is making sure that we're looking to our left and our right. Right? We're making sure that we are bringing on the people to our left and our right that are creatives, that are photographers, that are stylists. We don't have to go with the top stylists, because at that point they've reached the pinnacle of their career, right? How do we reach out to the person that works at the local, department store and they're trying to make it and have dressed, a soccer mom that is whatever, right? But also, are we really giving the opportunity to other people of color, and also people of color, not y'all only blacks. Are you doing the work?
Or indigenous.
Right. Are you doing the work? Because just because we're people of color doesn't mean that I need to hire a person of color.
Yeah.
I remember going to all of these events, and some of these major artists don't have black publicists, or don't have black stylists, or don't have black assistants. And sometimes when you give that opportunity to a person of color and they're just like, oh, we black, it's going to work well. No, it's not going to work well. I need you to work. This is a business.
Right.
I'm a brand.
Yep.
You are creating your brand.
Yep.
I need us to be collaborative.
Lockstep.
Come on, we got to be locked up. So, yeah.
I get it. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Like, who knew?
Right, who knew?
Christmas Eve. Wait, Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. Merry Christmas Eve.
What we do.
Get in here, Michelle. Wait a minute. Get in here, Michelle.
Our girl is the one who curated all of this and put this all together.
Michelle from KBLA.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, my God.
It is a blessing to be with y'all on Christmas Eve.
Thank you. You guys have a Merry Christmas and a very healthy and prosperous New Year.
Happy holidays, guys.
Love y'all.
Well, wasn't that something?
Okay.
I couldn't have